Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the weekly landscape update video I do on this house that I moved into in the late fall or early winter of last year. There's a playlist on my channel I'll link up here in the corner that will, if you go back and follow along, you can see how far this yard has come in a pretty short period of time. I mean, we're at about a half a year of actual intensive work on a weekly basis in this yard. There's still a long way to go. Big projects to do, which is fine with me. I enjoy what I'm doing here, and enjoy moving it forward a little bit every week, and I enjoy sharing that with you guys. Made pretty good progress this week. I got a clock in for the drip irrigation for the parts and pieces that I had put in last week and shown in that video, and I put it. I have it in line over there. I don't have it mounted on the wall yet, but I'll go over that clock with you in just a minute. Another thing that I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of is just to show you the amount of pollinators that are in this yard. There are actually bees on the salvia right in front of me. It may be out of focus right there, but I'm going to go through and just show you a few of the things that their bees are just all over. I'm shooting this in early morning, and they tend to start on the agapanthus and salvias in the morning and then move to other things throughout the day. And I want to just talk about how that relates to the performance of my vegetable garden back there. Having these two things kind of working together to lure all the pollinators that I need into this space. So I'm going to go over that as well. The other things I did, I planted an encore azalea in the front yard. It's called Autumn Majesty. It's actually being released next year. It's a double purple. That thing is going to be a big seller, to say the least. I've seen it in bloom a couple times now. I've had that plant for a little while, just didn't have a place to put it, so it's out in the front yard. I planted some salvias and several things in the front yard last week. When those things start to get some flowers on them, I'll show you that. But the front yard is actually starting to make good forward progress. I'm going to put the drone up over it pretty soon and do a drone front yard specific video and show you how far that's moving forward. I don't tend to talk about it a whole lot on these Wednesday videos. I also put in a white beautyberry. It's a native shrub, but it's got the white berries instead of the purple berries. It's one that's more upright and narrow that Buddy Lee gave me when I was down in Louisiana, because it's those things can spread so far and wide, but upright one seemed kind of desirable, so I've planted that in the front yard as well. There's a strip along the edge of the driveway over there that was just nothing but noxious weeds pretty much when I moved in here. There's a few things that were desirable in there. I've moved some hosta out of there and repurposed them back here, and a few things. And I dug out, hundreds of daffodil bulbs that are in a couple buckets over here beside the driveway. That strip has finally been pretty much cleaned up. I've got to run drip irrigation down there, but it's going to be all fruit plants. And so I have all the plants right now. I've got 4 blueberry plants and a couple other things that are going down that strip. So I hope to have that done very soon, and the irrigation run down that line as well. And there's a little brick edge right there on the edge of the driveway that has to be redone in some way or another. It was just all out of sorts. It had been allowed to just grow, with noxious weeds for a very, very long time. Finally got that cleaned up. The greenhouse, which is behind the camera right here, I've got the irrigation running on it. It's ready to go. I hope to have a propagation video up before this weekend is over. If not, it'll be early next week. But I definitely am. I'm starting to get a little late here on my propagation. I've got several things that I'm going to grab. I've got some things I've identified as potentially different or new plants that people in the neighborhood have hidden, pieces I'm going to take off plants that I've seen this year and I've talked to the homeowner about. And I need to get those things stuck as quick as possible. I'm actually going to go back to the old house and grab some cuttings off a few things there as well. I have made contact with those folks. So, okay, I think that's, I know I'm missing things when I do this because I've done a ton of small projects this week. This was kind of small project week. I didn't get a big chunk more of the irrigation done or anything like that, but I battened up things that I had already done. Before I get to the walking around part, I do remember that I had done the kale seed and the arugula seed that I had cut out of the garden a few weeks back, had dried enough for me to go ahead and collect that seed. I had cut those tops off and put them in a plastic bin. I just kind of kept rotating them in the plastic bin to make sure they were drying out and just stayed kind of fluffy. but any seed that happened to fall out was going to fall out into my plastic bin. So I collected a lot of it that way, and then yesterday I went through and broke the rest of the seed pods apart that had not been, just let it drop down to the bottom of that plastic container, and then just kind of picked through and got the majority of the debris out. Arugula seed is super, most of the lettuce seeds and arugula and kale and all those greens have super tiny seeds, and so I never get it cleaned up professionally. I'm not trying to sell anybody's seed, but I get it clean enough, and then I put them in a small, I got these little plastic jars that I use. They're actually little mason jars that are tiny. And I put that in the refrigerator. I've still got my other lettuce seed, is not quite dry enough to collect yet, but that is my process. As it's starting to fade in the garden, I cut the seed heads off. I put it in a plastic bin to make sure that any seed that's falling out has a place to drop and not lose the seed, and then let it dry out for a couple weeks. And then I shake it loose and then pull out the biggest debris. Larger seed is easier to clean up because you can actually just kind of blow all the other material out from around the seed because the seed's heavy enough. But with lettuce seed, I never get it completely clean, and I don't care. It's dry enough, it's in the refrigerator now, and it won't be long. It's almost time to start seeding some of those fall vegetables, and you'll see that on my channel coming up very soon. So let me walk around and show you some of these things with pollinators, and a quick walkthrough of that clock, just using it in manual mode. I'll start with the agapanthus varieties that I have right here. You see those two working that. These just started opening up. This one's kind of late. There's a dwarf purple one here, and that's where that bee just went to work that one. If I roll you around this way, I have 3 more varieties. Over here, there's an ever white. This thing just never stops blooming right here. Just never stops blooming. There's a bee working that one right there. You see it? There's another one right there. I didn't see him. Okay. There's another one right there. Taller growing purple variety. All these new varieties of agapanthus will just bloom and bloom. I need to deadhead these. You got to keep them deadheaded though. Then the next thing is all the different salvias that I have. There's a darker purple one here. There's a bunch of annual salvias right here. There's a bee working that purple one right there. I think you can see that right here in the middle of the frame. They're nonstop on all the salvias in the yard. I'll flip you over here to that one right there. You can see on that salvia, that bee is working that one pretty hard. And there's a branch right there, got a bee right there. But the salvias are pretty much covered in flowers, or covered in bees pretty much consistently. I don't cut them all back at one time. Like this one right here, I need to cut back a little bit, and that will get some more flowering going, but I won't cut them all at the exact same time. I'm gonna flip over here. I've got a red variety that really draws them in, hummingbirds as well. But this red one right here, absolutely non-stop with the bees. I think you can see that one. I'm so early in the morning that they're just waking up. A lot of them are sleeping over here on the dahlias. I'll show you in a minute. On the coleus here, there's one just taking a full-on nap right there in the middle of that. Of course, for whatever reason, they don't work the marigolds early in the morning. These doubles are not as easy for them anyway, but they don't spend a lot of time on the marigolds or the lantana right there, or any of the Rudbeckia varieties that I have back here. Look how beautiful these are. But later in the day, these have tons of bees on them. I don't know why. It's like a rotation. For whatever reason, the dahlias and the agapanthus and the salvia are the early morning thing. Let me show you 2 bees in 1 flower right there on that agapanthus. But later in the day, for whatever reason, they go to these Rudbeckia varieties right here. I'm going to swing around and head over here. And I'm skipping just tons and tons of things that have pollinators on them most of the day, but I'm just showing you the ones that actively have them. All of the dahlias are just non-stop, and they sleep on them at night for some reason. Here's another one right there. The dahlias in the vegetable garden is wasn't necessarily planned on my part that the dahlias would end up here next to it, but it pretty much means that everything in this vegetable garden is being pollinated. Here's a bee right here that just went from the dahlia. I watched them go down to this flower on this cucumber right here and pollinate it. Here's a bee. This came through right there. But the point of this is to have, it's all of these things together that are making sure that every single one of these cucumbers gets pollinated. And I'll bring you over here and show you all these flowers. I can probably find lots of bees in these cucumber flowers right now. Yeah, there's one right down in there. You see that one? Working that flower right there. And you see all these flowers. Every one of them is getting pollinated. There's another bee right there. Same thing along the fence over here with the cucumbers that are climbing. See the bees in there and right there. Just all different types of bees too, mostly natives. A few honeybees here or there, but mostly native bumblebees and other types. But man, it's just full of them over here. So, you know, it's this combination of having all those things back in that direction with flowers on them. And, you know, I've selected them all to invite these pollinators into the yard. And that's what, you know, that's how you end up with all of your, and I mean all of your tomatoes pollinated. So this is the spigot that I'm using for now to run the drip irrigation. I'm going to put a splitter on that so I can continue to have my hose hooked up here. And then I'm going to run a short hose over to here, painting this foundation, but the clock will be mounted right in there somewhere. For now, I've got it hooked to the other end of this hose right here. I cannot vouch for this company, Manor or something like that yet. I've never used one of their products, but they had on Amazon one of the only 4 hookup timers. So I can hook up 4 zones to this one. I've got 3 hooked up to it now. I have not set the time yet and the you know, the times it's turning on and off, but I've just been running it manual for the last few days until I get it finished mounting it up here. But I can just turn it on right here with manual, and then it's got the 4 zones. I'm going to run that first one and just add, you know, like 15 minutes to it. It could be whatever you want to add to it, but I put it on 15 minutes right there, and then it clicks on in just a second. Probably be able to hear it. There it went right there, and there's that pipe running across here. This is the vegetable garden zone. I'll go over here and show you that it's just dripping away in the vegetable garden. But that's the clock that I have. I'm not going to vouch for it or ask any, you know, get anybody to order it or anything. I want to use it for a couple weeks and see how it works. By next week, I'll have it set up on the wall and running automatically when it needs to run. But you can see these wet lines across here, across my rows right there. That's where I had run it a little earlier, just testing it. And so it's working pretty well. Thank you very much for following along with these Wednesday update videos. This next week, I plan on getting some more of this irrigation run the rest of the way around the house, an additional clock installed in the front for that. Like I say, by the time we come around to next Wednesday, there'll be unrooted cuttings in this greenhouse right here, and several other projects. And I got to get to the point where I'm about to mulch. And so as you're watching this video, you'll see this mulch is bleached out. It's about to be remulched. So that should look, really change the look of this once that's accomplished. Thanks for watching.